I don't know, you think I know what's on my wife that I'm now? Well, look, I'm going to say I'm so excited to be here, but I do think there's one problem with the campaign, David. I'm just going to tell you, you didn't get a big enough permit. It's a really good sign when you get a room and it gets filled up and there's more people than you expect. So I want to say I'm very excited. I can feel the momentum. I know that you're going to pull us out, David.
Yeah!
And I gotta tell you, I'm a little worried about Shelley. I mean, aren't you kind of worried, like, once she gets to Austin, they're going to push her around a little bit? Man, we need more Shelley Luthers in the world. So, I talked about two things on the campaign trail over the last several months before we got to the runoff. And I was talking about Court of Criminal Appeals, and that was half of what I talked about, and the other half was the Texas House. Those are the two things that we really fundamentally had to change, or we're going to lose Texas. And in the primary, I think you guys have taken care of the Court of Criminal Appeals. We won all three races. In the history of Texas, the three statewide incumbent judges, they were the only three statewide incumbent judges up on that Court of Criminal Appeals, have ever been, first of all run against in their primary, and third, all beat by a pretty large number. So you guys delivered, so thank you. But now, it's time for the other shoe to drop. And the other shoe is the Texas House of Dave Phelan's people, including Stephanie Blair. So I was in the Texas House, I started in 2003. 2003 was a pretty remarkable year. It was the first time since Reconstruction that the Republicans controlled the Texas House. And we were excited, we had a great session, we did all these great things, and we held on to it for 6 years. And then we had a strange thing happen. This guy named Barack Obama ran and won. Didn't win Texas, but our House went from 86 Republicans, 64 Democrats, to 76 Republicans and 74 Democrats. And we actually won that final seat by like 20 votes. And guess what? This guy named Joe Strauss, there were 11 Republicans that decided, hey, there's only a 2-margin victory. We'd like to be in charge of things. Let's elect their speaker among ourselves and then go get the Democrats to support us. And that's what they did. They came up with Joe Strauss, who served for 10 years and was controlled by the Democrats because he had 74 Democratic votes, and then he got 10 Republicans. And then he had 84 votes, and then you saw all these Republicans, I was there, all these Republicans running to him. And those of us who stood over there and said, wait a minute, this isn't right, we became third-class citizens. We lost our committees. We couldn't get our bills passed. We were ignored. They wouldn't talk to us. We were the worst of all. We were the worst people of all. And that process, the Democrats figured out after that, thanks to these 11 Republicans, they actually called them the Cardinals, because they went to a separate place. Everybody knew they were there. And just like the Cardinals that elect the Pope, they were going to elect the Speaker, and everybody was waiting for the Cardinals. They were called forever the Cardinals. And they controlled the Texas House. The Democrats realized after this, they thought, wait, we can do this every time. And it doesn't matter how many votes we have. So now they had 65 plus 10, plus whoever the Republican is that gets their vote. That person only needs 10 votes from the Republicans. And so what do? The Democrats say, well, who's going to give us the most? Who will stop any changes on the border? Who will stop any changes with elections so we can get illegal voting? Who will block a bill to fix what the Court of Criminal Appeals did by striking down the statutes that have been around since 1951 that directed the Attorney General to prosecute voter fraud? Who will do that? Who will impeach Ken Paxton? Who will stop most of the Republican agenda that's coming over from the Texas Senate? That person gets our vote, and that's how the deal has been done since 2011 when I was there. Don't you think It's time for the Republicans to control the Texas House. I just started watching this. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but I got home last night from an event, and we decided to watch. We got Apple TV for a couple of months, and we're watching the show called Franklin. Anybody here watch that yet? Okay, so I don't know that Michael Douglas is the greatest actor of all time, but I got to watch the first episode. In the first episode, Michael Douglas, Benjamin Franklin's, he's going over to France. They show his little trip over to France, and then you see they have just lost New York, Washington lost New York, the head would drop to New York, and he pens a letter saying that things do not look good, and things are looking very bad for the United States. So Franklin's going over to France trying to get their help because there's no way that they can beat the British with what they have. They were down to like 3,000 troops. And so, of course, he's being pushed aside, he being Franklin. They don't really want the Kings against this idea. Now, I've only seen one episode, so I haven't seen how this turns out, but I do know how it turns out. So, why am I telling you this? Because there was no hope. I mean, literally, Washington was up against the largest empire, maybe in the history of the world. He had a bunch of unpaid, barely paid people that had no experience, weren't trained, shouldn't have won. They kept losing every battle. And yet, look at us. We're free. How did that happen? God. And so, what I'm doing here today is trying to encourage you. I think we are those people.
Yes.
I think we are those people in Texas. And I can tell you what I think the strategy is. The strategy 4 years ago, I called Donald Trump in May. And I said, I want you to know that you have a chance of losing Texas. And he said, there is no way that I am losing Texas. I wish I could do his voice. I don't think that's possible. And I said, yes, Mr. President, I am in 12 lawsuits. I've never been in 12 lawsuits. I've never even had one lawsuit like I have right now, which is I've got all of these liberal judges in Travis County, in Bexar County, in Harris County. All these liberal judges are saying that the law doesn't matter right now. The law, as it is now, as it was then, only allowed certain people to vote by mail. And there were only 4 categories of people. And these judges were saying, you know what? Let's not follow that because of COVID. Mail them out to everybody. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, normally you'd have to apply. You'd send in an application with your signature. You'd have to say one of the 4 reasons that you were eligible to be on that list, which were allowed by state law. They send you a ballot back. You vote, you stick it in an envelope, you sign it, you mail it in, and they compare signatures. Well, if they mail them out to everybody, there are 7 million people in Harris County that get ballots, and they come back in and they're voted with no signature, or even if they have a signature, what do you compare it to? And then they say, well, you can't prove voter fraud. Guess what? You can't prove voter fraud. And I told the president, I said, if I can't win all of these lawsuits, I get 12. And I'm in liberal courts that are ruling against me. Then I get to appeal to a liberal appeals court, all Democrats, who are going to tell me they're going to try to slow it down and waiting for the ballots to go out so that there's no way, once they're out, the genie's out of the bottle, we can't win. It's over. And so I said, Mr. President, I got to figure out a way around these courts. I've got to get to the Supreme Court without being stalled. I got to figure out some way around. And what I'm telling you is we're going to lose Texas if I can't figure out how to win all 12 lawsuits. And I said, the reason I'm telling you this is not to scare you. I'm telling you this because I guarantee you this is going on in other states. This is not just some random effort. Oh, there just happen to be 12 judges in 12 places where I have to sue these judges. This is going on all over the country, and I don't know where. But it's your job, Mr. President. You have to figure this out because you're going to lose out mail-in ballots. So we end up winning all 12 lawsuits.
Oh,
We do that. They had them printed. Harris County elections person, I thought they were going to send them out anyway, so I had the building surrounded. Because I could arrest them, I couldn't. I was going to go right back to court, and tell the judge they violated a court order, they should be held in contempt and stop this mail-in ballot stuff. So, election night, I'm watching the vote. Trump's ahead in Pennsylvania, he's ahead in Arizona, he's ahead in Wisconsin, he's ahead in all the battleground states. And then something happened I'd never seen before, and you saw it too. They stopped counting votes. And I told the people I was with a bunch of people in my office, I said, I am going to bed because this is over. Trump is going to lose. They're going to count ballots from mail-in ballots. We have no idea where they came from. They're not Georgia, the Attorney General there, who's a Republican, and Arizona, a Republican Attorney General, did not fight this. And we're going to lose. And sure enough, for the first time ever, they counted votes for 3 days. Why? Because they didn't know how many votes they needed to get to the number that they needed. And that's what they did. So, why am I telling you that story? Well, anybody that tells you that there's no voter fraud, I was suing over 900 cases when the Court of Criminal Appeals struck this statute down saying that the Attorney General was not allowed in court because I'm in the executive branch. Let that sink in. The Attorney General is not allowed in court. It's insane. So we're fighting to get that back. Dave Phelan, I get the bill reauthorized in the Senate. It goes to the House. It's sitting there, and Stephanie Click and others hold the bill up. I call the speaker, who doesn't answer, never returns my phone call. And when I finally talk to some of his people, they tell me they don't have time to fix this problem, so I can no longer prosecute voter fraud, which means that all of these local big counties, no one's going to prosecute voter fraud, because the only people that can do it now are the DAs in Travis County, who was put there by Soros, the DA in Bear County, who was put there by Soros, the DA in Harris County, who was just put there by Soros. So it's not going to be prosecuted in our Republican legislature. The House, led by Dave Phelan and Stephanie Click, said, no, we don't want to protect you from voter fraud. That is what she did, and that's why it is essential. If we're going to survive as a nation, if we're going to survive as a state, and look, here's the strategy. I'm going to just give it to you. They want a one-party system, they being the Democrats. And they are working with this. And they have been working on this, because if they can take Texas, and they get a one-party system, from now on, they will fix elections from then on out in Texas, and we will go forward, and they'll make it look like we have elections, just like they do in Venezuela and other places. But we will never have elections that we can trust. And they will always make sure there are enough Republicans that say, look, it's legit, we have Republicans. For some reason, you guys can't ever win Congress. For some reason, you can't win Texas back. For some reason, you can't win the presidency ever. That's the direction they want to go. How are they going to do it? I'm pretty convinced now. This is just recent revelation. I thought all these illegals were coming in for the future. They're not. They're coming in to vote right now. And I'm convinced the federal government's giving them Social Security numbers. And then they walk up to get their Texas driver's license, because guess what? Citizens, we don't require proof of citizenship. You know why? Because Dave Phelan killed it. Stephanie Clinton. We can't make them prove citizenship. So if the federal government gives them a Social Security number, and they walk in with it, they get a driver's license, they can vote. And guess how many states are just like that? 47 states. So maybe I'm just thinking that. And guess what? If they do this, they're going to say, you guys are making this up. That never happened. You can't prove it. We can't prove it. But that's where I think they're going, and we need to figure out a way to fight it. The first thing that we have to do, we've already done part of it. We've elected 3 new members of the Court of Criminal Appeals for the first time ever. The second thing you have to do is you need to go to every single one of your friends. No one's going to vote. What's the projected turnout, David? Sean, do you know? Anybody know?
5 to 6,000.
Okay, 5 or 6,000. What percent is that of people that? It's got to be. It's a low number.
7%.
7%. You guys, just the people in this room, if you get your friends to vote, and their spouses, and their kids, and their friends, and you work it, I guarantee you, David Lowe is going to be your next state representative.
Woo! Yeah.
Okay, David, I bet you know the answer. How many days until the runoff? Uh-oh, he doesn't know. It's a month, right? We're a little over a month away. That's not a lot of time, but it's enough time. So I am begging you, work as hard as you've ever worked, not just for David, not just even for the state of Texas, but remember, this is maybe our last chance. And someday. They're gonna do a documentary about, I mean, Michael Douglas will not play anybody. But they're gonna do a documentary about what happened in Texas. And hopefully the documentary looks a lot like what happened with Benjamin Franklin's over France. If we can do that today, we'll be part of history. Our children will have freedom. Our grandchildren will have freedom. So, David, let's go win.